How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Clips or Die podcast. I am your host, Brian Dirty Sanchito, and I am excited to have you guys here with me today. We have some exciting stuff to talk about because, hey, Clipper basketball is back. Well, it's sort of back. It's not preseason, it's not regular season, it's Summer League. And for me, that's exciting because we get to see our draft picks, we get to see our new possible prospects, we get to see how they're going to do. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and talk about that today. And I also want to talk about, John Wall a little bit. He did do a little bit of interviews during Summer League. He was there. And so I kind of want to talk about that. So with that being said, if you guys are new to this channel, thank you so much for checking it out. If you would please do me a favor and consider subscribing. It really helps out my channel. For those of you who have been here before, thank you so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And lastly, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, please consider leaving a review if you're able to do so. But with that being said, let's get right into it. So the Clippers had their first game of the Summer League, and it was against the Memphis Grizzlies, and they actually ended up winning. The final score ended up being 94-76. And honestly, it was a pretty exciting game. Going into it, I wasn't really expecting much. My hopes were pretty low as far as the excitement level was going to be, but I was pleasantly surprised. Overall, one thing that I have to say for those of you who missed out on the game, for the most part, our Clippers squad, or at least our Summer League squad, looked pretty solid overall, I think. They worked really well together. They had really good team chemistry, in my opinion. They were moving the ball really well. And on defense, it looked really good. In my opinion, the defense looked awesome. It looked really good. They were locking down the Memphis Grizzlies. And overall, to me, no one really stood out on the Grizzlies besides Lofton. And I kind of had an eye out for him during the game because I had seen previous highlights of him against OKC in the Summer League. And I knew that he was kind of someone to look out for on the Memphis Grizzlies. Other than that, though, he's really the only person that stood out on their team. And for the most part, the Clippers pretty much dominated the whole game. It didn't really seem even partially close at all. So that's that. It was pretty exciting. And for those of you who didn't check it out, I think maybe it's worth at least checking out the highlights for specific players. With that being said, I do want to talk about specific players that stood out to me. And there was a couple of them. So first and foremost, Brandon Boston Jr. was one of the players that stood out to me. Another player was Jason Preston and Moussa Diabate. Man, Moussa Diabate really stood out and exceeded my expectations, at least with this first game. And lastly, Jay Scrubb. Oh, also additionally, Perry also stood out to me. Perry was another player that stood out to me. His shooting from the three-point line just seemed really, really good. Reggie Perry. So with that being said, let's go a little bit more in depth with this and let's dive in a little bit deeper. So let's go ahead and start with Brandon Boston Jr. Man, Brandon Boston Jr., he is one of my favorite Clippers young players. When he was drafted, I was really excited about him being on the team, watching him play. It's just been really nice. I like his style of play, and I feel like once he gets a chance to continue to develop, play more, especially playing around, PG and Kawhi, he's going to develop into a really great player. As far as this game goes, he did play 22 minutes and shot 4 of 8 from the field. 3 of those were three-pointers and shot 4 of 6 from the free throw line. Overall, to me, he looked great when he was on the floor. His defense was one thing to me that stood out. It looks like his defense has definitely gotten better. Watching him play during the Summer League, I really am excited to see how he plays alongside PG and Kawhi. Hopefully he does get a good amount of playing time this year. Maybe not necessarily a lot of it, but I hope that we do get to see him a lot. It's going to be tough with how deep the team is, but I'm really excited and really excited to see how he does for the other Summer League games that are coming up this week. So that's Brandon Boston Jr. Overall, solid. He was a plus 17 overall to end the game and ended with 15 points. Now let's move on to Moussa Diabate. Man, was he exciting to watch play. His stats aren't crazy, But boy, the eye test, watching him play, to me, he looked good. He looked really solid. And I know this is Summer League, and I know possibly, you can argue the competition definitely is not going to be the same as when he's playing, regular season against regular season NBA players. But he looked really good, really, really good. He ended up playing 22 minutes, was 3 of 4 from the field. His free throws need some work. He was 4 of 9. I believe after the game, there was a quote where Ty Lue called him Shaq, referencing his free throws. He did have 6 offensive rebounds, 1 defensive rebounds, and ended with a plus 16, only 1 foul, and 10 points. Overall, I definitely recommend, if you're a fan of the Clippers, that you check out his highlights from this game. It was just really, really exciting to watch him play. The way that he moved on the floor, his motor, his athleticism was really, really nice. He fought for the rebounds, which is something that we desperately needed help with last season. So it was really, really nice to see that. He definitely has a great motor in him. And he had this really nice play where just his foot movement, his footwork, and he had this really nice dunk, and it was just beautiful. Check out his highlights from this game, and it's gonna get you excited. I'm all in on Diabate. Inject it straight into my veins. I'm so excited to see how he does the rest of the Summer League. And if he ends up doing really well during the Summer League, I honestly would not be surprised if we get to see him, possibly as a backup center at some point during the regular season. Who knows? It might just be recency bias right now with how well he played in the first game, but we'll see how it goes. Again, at the end of the day, it is Summer League, but I'm excited. That's all I have to say about that. I'm excited. Check out Moussa Diabate. It's really, really, really exciting to watch him play. Next up, let's talk about Jason Preston. Now, Jason Preston, we did not get to see play at all last year because of foot injury that he had. But it was nice to see him play. We had seen pictures and heard him talk about how he tried to bulk up over this last year, and you can definitely see that he has. During the Summer League game, he did play 21 minutes, shot 3 of 5 from field goals, 1 of 1 from the 3-point line, had 2 offensive rebounds, 2 defensive rebounds, 6 assists, which is nice to see, 2 blocks. He did have 4 turnovers, ended with a plus 13 and a 7-point total. So what I would have to say off of the eye test with Jason Preston was he looked pretty good. I overall think that I see the potential in him, and I see the potential of him once he continues to develop. It's going to be hard, though, I think, for him to see any playing time, especially, having Reggie, having John Wall now. And then, I know Terrence Mann was playing the point role a lot last year. I don't know if we're going to see that again this year, but it would be nice to see him in a system with Kawhi and PG, see him playing alongside them and seeing what he can do. Overall, though, he did look good as far as the eye test goes to me. He was doing a pretty good job facilitating, in my opinion. One thing that I did notice is I felt like he was making the effort on the defensive end. I felt like he was doing a pretty good job at trying to defend. And that's just one thing that I can actually feel like I can say about a lot of the young guys that got to play during this Memphis Grizzlies game, is that they really were putting in the extra effort to play defensively, and I think that's one of the things that definitely helped them extend their lead against the Memphis Grizzlies. So overall, Jason Preston, I'm excited to see him play some more. I think I see the development. I see the possibility that he can get a lot better. But I really want to see how he does these next 3 Summer League games to be able to do a little bit further of an analysis and really get a better idea of what kind of player he's going to be. Next up, let's talk about Jay Scrubb. So Jay Scrubb, we know he was with the team last year. We got to see him play quite a bit. So he played 24 minutes overall, was 4 of 11 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3-point line, and 2 of 2 from the free throws. Other than that, just had 1 defensive rebound, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and 1 foul. He had ended with the plus or minus of plus 13 and 11 points. Overall, I mean, he looked good. But I think the thing with him is kind of we have really no idea what's going to happen with him and what his situation is going to be with the team. I mean, he's probably not even going to be with the team next year because he's seeking out that contract, or at least, that's what the rumors have said, that he was seeking out a contract. So with that being said, I would hope that he would have been open to a two-way contract, but that's going to open it up to some of these other guys on this roster to really get that opportunity. So we'll see what happens with Jay Scrubb. Who knows? He might change his mind and be open to signing a two-way, but if not, then we'll just have to see what happens with him, with his future in the NBA. Other than that, if you guys watched one of my other episodes, I talked about the three guys that were signed to the Exhibit 10 deal: Michael DeVoe, Lucas Williamson, and Justin Bean. We didn't really see much of them. The one person that we did see play a little bit more was Michael DeVoe, but nothing really stood out to him. As far as me personally, I didn't really see anything stand out. And then Lucas Williamson and Justin Bean just got like garbage time minutes in summer league. So as far as that goes, nothing really stood out from them. So we'll have to see how they play, or if they get much playing time in the next couple games, and if they can do something to stand out. The only one other player that stood out to me was Xavier Moon, and we saw a lot of him last year, or at least some of him last year. And overall, man, I don't know why, but he just seems so quick. I don't know if I just didn't pay attention to him too much last season when he did play, but he looked really, really quick on the floor. That was one of the things that really stood out to me as far as he goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as Summer League. The Clippers have 3 other games this week. It looks like they're going to be playing against the Lakers on Tuesday, July 12th. They're going to be playing against the Denver Nuggets on July 13th, which is a Wednesday, and Utah Jazz on Friday, July 15th. So we'll see how those go. It looks like the Lakers and the Nuggets games will be on NBA TV. So if you don't have that subscription, you're probably going to have to find some other way to watch it. And the Jazz game will be on ESPN2. So we'll have to see how they continue to play, and hopefully we get some more exciting play. I'm really excited to see, Brandon Boston, Jay Preston, and Moussa Diabate play, because as of yesterday's game against the Grizzlies, I'm a huge Moussa Diabate fan, and I really hope that he continues to impress. So we'll have to see how that goes. Now, moving forward, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about today, and it's John Wall. So John Wall was actually at the Summer League game. He's one of the Clippers players that was there, alongside with a couple other Clippers players that were also there. I think Reggie Jackson was there. I think Amir Coffey. I want to say that Luke Kennard was there. Steve Ballmer, Jerry West, and Ty Lue, of course, were also there. So a couple things with John Wall that were circulating. One thing is that, he showed up with someone that's a good friend. Might not be a big deal, but he did show up with DeMarcus Cousins. We know that he's good friends with DeMarcus Cousins. I think that's pretty well known. But with that being said, how would you guys feel if this is some sort of maybe him trying to recruit DeMarcus Cousins to get that backup center role? I was on Reddit yesterday, and I was seeing, someone commenting that he was wearing Clippers gear, I believe like a Clippers face mask. So I don't know about if that's true or not, but if he is, then do you guys think that means anything, or are we just reading the tea leaves at this point? But that's just one thing that I wanted to bring up. I mean, me personally, I think there's maybe better options out there than DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, especially after seeing Moussa Diabate play yesterday. Hey, it might be worth a shot to see and give him some time as a backup center. Realistically, though, I know Ty Lue mentioned that he did want to try to play more small ball during the regular season. So we'll just have to see how it goes. We have one roster spot left, one two-way left. And we're just going to have to see what ends up happening and who ends up getting signed with that. I do want to talk about other John Wall news, though, because John Wall did do interviews yesterday after the Grizzlies game. And he talked a lot about, the Clippers, and he talked about why he chose the Clippers and, how good of an organization the Clippers are, and that, being one of the things that kind of motivated him to want to join the team. So that's one thing that, really stood out to me in watching his interviews. Another thing that was really, really cool to hear, and that I kind of saw circulating around online was he talked about, how one of the things that drew him to being to signing with the Clippers was that he didn't have to be that number one player. He didn't have to be that number one guy that, he had to be maybe with Houston or with the Wizards. So it's nice to hear him say that, and nice to hear him buying into that, because at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that we don't expect him to be that guy, and we don't need him to be that guy. We have Kawhi, we have PG. We definitely don't need him to be that person. And he said something along the lines of he doesn't need to be the Batman, and he's okay with being the Robin. And that is really, really cool to hear. And he said something really, that I hadn't really thought about. That basically he said something along the lines of that you're telling me that the third best defender is going to have the third best defender is going to have to guard me. Good luck. That's something that he said. And to me, it's true. Yeah. That's going to create more space for him. That's going to create more ability to him. If best person on the other team is not having to defend him, then that's going to create more opportunity for him to be able to drive into the lane. Or if they're focused on, Kawhi, PG, maybe double teaming, things like that, it'll open up opportunities for him to take shots. Because one thing that he did also mention yesterday was that he talked about, he was asked what are things that he's been working on during the summer and during off season. And one of those things that he mentioned was that he's been, shooting catch and shoot threes. He's been working on his floaters. So it's really, really good to hear that he's buying in on not having to be that, not having to be that main guy, not having to be that Batman, and he's okay with that Robin role. And that's exactly what the Clippers need, and that's the exact Clippers culture that we expect. So it's really, really cool to hear that. I don't think that you're going to get that with a player like Kyrie. One other thing that did stand out to me and I thought was kind of interesting was he did also mention how he had tried to recruit Paul George back in 2016 to join the Wizards. So that's just something that I thought, a little fun fact that John Wall brought up. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. I feel like this was kind of a long time coming. We had seen John Wall and PG hanging out, multiple times out here in LA. And you kind of had an idea that they were good friends. So I'm really excited to see John Wall on the team. After hearing what he had to say during these interviews, I personally, I'm really excited. I think that he's going to be really good with this, and I'm excited for the season to come. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support I've gotten so far. And stay tuned for the next one. I'll probably, I'm trying to do this as a weekly thing, so I'll probably have a new episode next week, and we'll have a lot more to talk about because we have 3 more Summer League games coming up this week. So hopefully we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. But other than that, thank you guys again for watching or listening if you're listening to this on a podcast app. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.